Hey, good morning. Welcome to Good Knit Kisses. I'm your host, Kristen. Today, I am fresh-faced. You're not seeing any lipstick or powder on me or anything. I hope that's okay with you. I am in a completely different spot today. I don't think you've seen me broadcast from here before. So welcome. I am working on the 10-stitch blanket, and I've been working up a sample very slowly. I've been working on a few other things, but also having some health things. So it's been a little slow around here on my samples, but that's okay. You guys are sweet and patient. I have got my sample sitting here that I was going to show you. I'll flip the camera around and do a bit of a tutorial. And I have permission from Frankie Brown to teach the 10-stitch, and so we're going to look at that today on my iPad and kind of go over things like that, and even look at the 10-stitch twist. So I might do a little bit of knitting, but I want to kind of go over that. So if you want to just kind of see how I go over a pattern, we'll do that today, and then maybe we can work on it next week. So if you're comfortable, if you want to get your tools for next week, and join me, and we can knit those up next week. So anyway, welcome. Today's Wednesday, knitting day at Good Knit Kisses. I'm your host, Kristen, and welcome everyone. Thanks for hopping on, signing in. Hello, good morning, Bridget and Lori, Joanne, Ada, Stephanie, Iris. Thank you so much. Iris, you're from Denmark. That's outstanding. Welcome. How do I say welcome in Denmark? I have no idea. But that would be cool. Hey, Ellie, I see you popped on. Let's see. Did you join before and then you hopped in and out? Okay, well, good morning. I have got, like I said, if you're just hopping on, I'm going to do the 10-stitch blanket. If you're not familiar with the 10-stitch blanket, what it is it's working 10 stitches over your needles, and you're picking up stitches along the way when you turn a blanket around, and then you continue adding on what you just did. So we work for a while, turn a corner, pick up stitches from the last row, and continue. And so it keeps joining your blanket, and it grows as you go. So that's what happens on the 10-stitch. And Frankie Brown has several patterns. She originally looked at some Elizabeth Zimmerman things. Look up Elizabeth Zimmerman if you don't know about her, and in her knitting, and decided, I don't want to sew my stitches to get my seams together. I want to pick them up as I go. And so she started all these patterns with that. So anyway, she gave us permission to go over her pattern and teach it, and so we will do that. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, thanks for sharing, Ada. I appreciate you sharing. I love when you guys share the video. It means that I'm doing something you like. I also love reactions like hearts and likes and stuff, and laughs if I'm funny. The mad emojis throw me off, though, I gotta say. I'm typically not doing something that will make people mad, or hopefully. Maybe it's frustrated. I think we need a frustrated emoji. If you're frustrated with your work, like, I don't know what I'm doing, or like a nervous one, maybe there's a nervous emoji. But the mad one in knitting, I'm like, really? No, I don't get that very often. I think people may hit it by mistake. I've actually hit one of them by mistake, like sad or something by mistake, when I was like trying to hit somebody else. So not hit somebody else. I hit the other emoji. So good morning, Susan. Hi, Christine. Welcome. I'm glad you joined us. Oh no, Ellie made a mad emoji. Well, I mean on the reaction thing, you know, like when you just slide it over. By the way, little tip for you in live. Okay. Are y'all ready? Everybody putting on their listening ears. Little tip, little tip. If you're joining me on your mobile, slide from left to right. When you slide from left to right, it is a video only mode, okay? And then swipe left to right to reveal comments and reactions. So left to right on my phone, it gets the emojis and the comments and reactions off of your screen, and then the right to left makes them come back. So try that. So if you try that, you'll notice. So if you were watching a tutorial and you're like, I can't see what the person is doing, then just slide it, okay? But you'll miss some comments, but you can always slide back and then scroll back, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, did y'all learn something new? Give me some hearts if you like that tip. I don't know if everybody knows that tip. I haven't used it very often because I forget about it. You did that by accident a while ago? Yeah, I can see how you do it by accident. I've actually gotten out of a broadcast before when I've typed to comment and then I like kind of it covers up the other comments and then you have to tap it again and then it like you got out of the broadcast and I had to get back in. I was like, okay, this is weird. So anyway, all right. Oh, you can't do it on your tablet, Ada? Oh, okay. Yeah, you do it by accident, Chris. Yeah, you did not know that. Okay, good. Okay. We'll learn something new every day. I love it. Love it, love it. Okay, I'm going to show you on my blanket, and then I'm going to show you this pattern. If you don't have the pattern, you want to go to Ravelry.com. If you don't have an account, why not? What's up if you don't have one? Get a Ravelry account, and you're going to look for the 10-stitch blanket. Is that flipped for y'all? 10-stitch blanket. So type out the word 10 and stitch and blanket, and it's by Frankie, Frankie Brown. And get that. And if someone wants to put in the link, you're awesome. Okay, let me flip it. Okay, oh, here's my studio. See, it's way back there. Look, there it is. Hi. There's all that yummy yarn. All right. So I'm working with Karen cakes. These are 2 more that I can add. I'm actually thinking of stopping this for a little bit and then starting one of the 10-stitch twists because that looks fun. And right now, this is my blanket here. See? And it's on the edge here, and then we're gonna go up and stop here. I'm hoping that the rest of my yarn is gonna hold out to the end there, and then that's where I'll join, or I'll decide to stop and make this just a sample size because I was thinking of making just very small for a baby. So here we go. And then, no, Chris, I did not find my DPN that I lost at school. Notice, whoops, notice I am using circulars. So that is a great point. So I have been using double pointed needles. If you're not familiar with DPN, that's double pointed needles. And I had to switch to these circulars because they're an 8, just like my DPNs. I lost one at school. Point being, traveling with DPNs is dangerous because I dropped my needle off because I was done with that row, because I like to be done with the whole row and when I put it away. So I have this free needle and it clearly fell out. Usually what I do is I stick it in my knitting before I walk away. I'll stick it in there. But with a circular needle, you just do this and then throw it in your bag and it holds the stitches great. So I'm going to come over here and show you the blanket and see how it has these ridges on it. So it starts here. Let's use this as a pointer. So this is the cast on area, not this ridge, but underneath here. Okay, this is actually the edge here. And then you work your ridges here, and then you make a turn and do a corner, and turn and do a corner. And then this is where you start picking them up, and it starts becoming ridges here. And then you make another corner and you pick up and it makes ridges, and you go all the way around and you just keep going and going and going, and it grows. Now, this is a reverse. See how you don't see all those ridges? So it has this nice mitered corner here. So yeah, so that's what the back side looks like. I love the back. I think it looks really nice. It doesn't have the overlap of the color on the stitches like this one does. So I like both sides. It's kind of cool. I like having the sides look a little different from each other. It's fun. And actually, when the color changes like this, at first I wasn't sure if I'd like, oh no, I can see a lot of the yellow and green, but as it goes, it's kind of cool. It has this two-tone look. I mean, look how cool this orange looks with this blue, right? And my camera, my lighting in this room isn't as good, but these colors actually pop more. Like this is not as muted. Like it looks muted on the camera right now, but it's actually a sharper, brighter, more vibrant color. So anyway, so there you go. Let's look at the pattern here. Let me see if I have any questions. I'm going to adjust the camera. Let me see if I have any questions while I flip that camera over just 1 second. Thank you for the link, Joanne. Let's see. Joanne says, okay, I have to catch the replay since you need to pop out. Okay. She must see the join on needles for a project she's working on. Okay. All right. So this is the pattern for the 10 stitch. And let me see if I can make this, let me see if I can adjust my camera down. Can you guys, hold on 1 second while I adjust my camera. Live video, you know. Trying to see if I can, you know what? Oops, sorry. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna hold it, okay? We'll just hold it. So this is Frankie's 10 stitch blanket, and she's got it laid out, talking about the pattern first, and instead of like setting it up like the way you may, if you know my patterns, it's going to be set up different. Everybody sets up the way that their patterns read. Hers is several pages long. It's 9 pages long, so there's a lot of text in here. If you can, I know it doesn't read like a book, but if you're new to reading patterns, try and read through the whole pattern, even though it may feel awkward. That way, anything that is odd to you will be highlighted to you, and then you can go back and refer to it. That way you're not missing something. Okay, so the 10 stitch blanket, and by the way, I had permission to do this, so we've already been back and forth with Frankie and I to teach this. So the 10 stitch blanket can be knitted in the yarn and needles of your choice, and as a way of using your leftover yarn. You can see how hers like color changes a lot here, but hers was knitted in Noro Curion, and it's on 5.5 millimeter or US size 9 needles. I'm actually using an 8 for mine, and her blanket measured 107 by 122 centimeters, or 42 inches by 48 inches. So she used let's see, 700 grams of yarn on hers. So, and hers was an let's see, a 50-gram ball. So you can see how many balls she used on that. And then, let's see, the 10 stitch blanket, like I said, was inspired by Elizabeth Zimmerman's baby blanket in the opinionated knitter, which is made up of L-shaped strips of garter stitch, and then they're all sewn together. So she used her technique for shaping the corners. So we'll talk about the corners here in a minute. But then what she did is she joins hers in one continuous strip. So joining as she goes, because she dreaded sewing it up. Okay, so that's how she created, that's how she created it. Things you need to know: throughout the pattern, she refers to ridges rather than rows, because this is a garter stitch pattern, and then there's all these little ridges instead of counting rows, which is great. You don't really have to count in this pattern, which is nice. I mean, you want to make sure that you haven't dropped a stitch off or added one, and so you constantly have 10 stitches on your needle, but that's the only way that you could really mess up here. So as far as counting goes, wherever possible, it says a ridge and garter stitch, of course, is knit 2 rows. Wherever possible, all outside first stitches are slipped knitwise to help the joining. And she says, I haven't put this in the instructions as to simplify them, and it's not disastrous if you forget. Now, I want to say she had another version which was slipping it purlwise. I've slipped all my stitches purlwise, and so whether you knit it, whether you slip it purlwise or knitwise, it's just be consistent. That's what I would say. The 10 stitch strip being knitted is joined on the body of the knitting as you go along, see, like this, to avoid sewing it up. This is done by joining the ridges like this, and then she goes on and shows. Okay, so so basically you knit 9 stitches, and then you slip the stitch knitwise and pick up and knit 1 stitch from the edge of the next ridge on the knitting, or just in from the edge, pass the slip stitch over, and now turn and knit all stitches to complete the ridge. Now, she does talk about a change, so I'm going to show you what she does here, just because just so you can see what's happening, what it means, I'm going to show you what that means physically here. So I'm going to go back and forth between actually doing it and reading it. How's that? Do you guys like that? Okay, so this is what she's talking about, knit 9 stitches. So now she's saying knit 9 stitches, but when the main voice of the pattern says slip the first stitch, technically you're knitting, she says knit 9, okay, but it's actually knitting 8 because this one wants to be slipped. Now sometimes someone has not noticed that it said that, or she's being intentional because she wants you to realize there's 10 stitches and the last one's going to get worked in that other way. So I go back to the default of her of what she's written, and so I'm still slipping because we saw that note about slipping the outside. Now she said knitwise. If you want to do it knitwise, you're going to go into the stitch like you would knit the stitch and slip it that way. Okay, I have already started slipping all mine purlwise, so I'm going to continue as doing so. And then we're going to knit these next stitches. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm on my knitting here. Oh, I'm like trapping it in. Sorry, I'm struggling. Okay, so I have this last one. So if we go back to this pattern, I know what I'm doing, but I just want to show you it written. So it says knit 9. Well, I actually have the 9 on here now. See how that first one was the slipped one? And slip the next stitch knitwise and pick up and knit 1 stitch from the edge of the next ridge on the knitting. So we're going to slip this stitch, okay, all right, and then it says slip it knitwise. I've been doing purlwise in my pattern the entire way. I think she had another version that slipped it that way, and so that's why I did it that way, but just so you know, that's how I did it, and that's how I got this look. So you can try it knitwise or purlwise, but do the same thing. So now that this is slipped over this way, I'm going to pick up from the edge. Okay, so in between these two ridges here, see this is a ridge here, okay, and this is a ridge here, and I'm going to pick up between here my next stitch. Now, just so you know, the reason why I'm not going back here is because that's where my last stitch came from. See that? You can see it physically pulling on this stitch here. You see that? So I'm not going to go into here, or else I'm going to start creating this monster hole thing, and it's not going to go anywhere because I'll just keep going the same spot. So I'm going to go in here. Okay, we're picking up a stitch. Now we're not picking up an old stitch. We're actually, when you say pick up stitch, you're going to wrap around your needle and pull through a new stitch. Okay, and then you're going to take your needle and pass the slip stitch that you've already done over that new stitch. And so what that does is it locks it in and it chains it right here. Do you see that? Okay, now we're going to turn it. Okay, and see how once you have your blanket done, once you have it going, all this is down here. You don't have to flip over the entire blanket. You're just kind of turning this work here. Okay, so that's what's really nice about it. Then I'm going to take this and knit, it says knit all 10 stitches to complete the ridge. Now, I'm going to stop working on this and I'm going to start looking at the pattern again because I want you to see something. Okay? So that's what that section was. Okay, so this is the join. I like using, my fingers are big and fat and I'm conscious, so I'm going to use this. If you want to know why, I always point with these because it's easier. Okay, so this is the join that she uses, but feel free to experiment and work in any way that pleases you. See how I'm doing that on my own pattern, or on my own work behind you. Instructions for the popular chain join are given later in pattern. The chain join is what Kristen is doing. That's what I'm doing, okay? And then it says shaping is achieved by working short rows and ridges. Knit the specified numbers of stitches, then wrap the following stitch. Turn the work and knit back. This wrapping and turning, abbreviated, is wrap and turn in the pattern, is work like this. And then so this is where we would read in the pattern how to wrap and turn. Okay, so we're continuing reading, like, so if we were originally, I'm going back to just showing you that we're reading the pattern, okay? I'm not actually showing you the wrap and turn right now, but I just want to show you, the reason why I stopped is I wanted to explain that since I was at that point in my pattern. So the way that you do it, a wrap and turn, is you bring the yarn forward, then you slip the next stitch purlwise, okay? So you bring the yarn forward, then you put the stitch on your right needle, or your dominant hand. Take the yarn to the back again and replace the stitch on the left hand needle. The one that you slipped, put back over to your non-dominant hand, okay, which would be your left hand if you're right-handed. And then bring the yarn forward again and turn the work. So you flip it around. So you bring the yarn forward, it goes towards you, and you turn the work, and the yarn is in the back again. But it's just showing basically you're taking yarn to one side, wrapping it around, and bringing it through again. But the way to bring it through is you have to slip it on and off the needles. Does that make sense, or did it thoroughly confuse anyone? If you want me to show you right now before we continue through the pattern, I can absolutely show you how that wrap and turn looks. And I'll show you here in a minute after we kind of go through this. Ada says, I slipped my purlwise and knit those 2 stitches through the back since, I'm not sure what the rest of that is that she's saying. Oh, since you're continental. Okay. Yeah, and when you're continental, you may slip them around easier. And I've kind of go back and forth about how it is. Okay, please show you. Okay, you're confused. All right, so here we go. First of all, let me get through. I'm going to get through to the other side and show you just a wrap and turn on this side, just so I don't mess up my pattern down here. So I'm going to slip this stitch and put the yarn at the back and knit the rest of this row. And that's because I'm doing a chain join. So in between that stitch. If you knit continental, it works really well because you're holding your yarn at the back. And I think it's easier to slip your stitches back and forth. And I kind of do a combination, a modified version of throwing when slipping in this pattern. Okay, so I'm going to do a wrap and turn. It doesn't really matter where I did it because this is not for the pattern. This is just to show you a wrap and turn. So what you're doing is, let me knit a couple to get it in the middle of the row. Let's say your pattern says we're going to slip one and it says knit 3. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then it says wrap and turn. What that means is this next stitch here is going to get a wrap all the way around it. So in order to do that, we have to put the yarn to the front, slip that stitch over, wrap it around, okay? So it's hugging that yarn. And then, well, right now it's not hugging it yet. And then we have to move it back over and then put that yarn in the front again. And so now it's like a complete wrap around this this stitch, okay? So imagine this is a scarf, and you went all the way around the back of this neck here and went around to the front again. And so it's like that, okay? So now that it's in the front, we actually turn it over, okay? Oh, actually, I'm going to turn it the other way. I'm going to turn it over like this. Oh, gosh. Here we go. I'll turn it this way. But now that the yarn is in the back. So the yarn was in the front here, front before when we were like this. And so now I flip it to the back. It's ready to start knitting. And you're working the opposite direction again. So you're going to... Basically, you're stopping knitting here and you're building out this section. So it turns this direction, okay? If I was putting a wrap here and working this direction, it would turn in this direction. Like you're adding stitches in this direction. So here we go. So we're turning. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm knitting that last stitch here, and now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to slip it, and then now I'm going to knit 1, 2 stitches instead of the 3. Here's my last wrap and turn. You can see that it's all around there, and but I'm actually going to because okay, so I did that last time, so I need to skip short. So I unknit that one. So because this one's turned, I'm going to wrap this one here. So I've only knit this one, so I'm going to slip. I'm sorry, put my yarn in the front, slip, wrap around, slip this back over, put my yarn in the front again. So now this one's wrapped again. Now this is ready to knit this last stitch. So I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to knit it. 1, 2, and then rotate it back. Okay, so now those 2 stitches were done, and then if I want to wrap this last one, I would just slip this stitch and actually slip this one again, wrap all the way around, slip it again, wrap it again. Okay, and now I go to the back and I can knit this very last stitch. It's a little fiddly here. And now I've knit that stitch. Okay, so now see what that did. Do you see how I was knitting this ridge here? Okay, and then I made a really shortened one, right? This is a dramatic version of I'm stopping not even mid-row and then I'm building this out, right? So I made a very short ridge here. So this was all 10 stitches, and then this was only like up to the 4 here because I slipped 1 and knit 3, and then now I have a shorter ridge and then an even shorter one. So I've got like a couple of little stitches here. See that? So this is a short row. Wrap and turns are short rows, and there's different versions of short rows. Okay, so that's what this is. Now that's not this pattern right in this spot, but just to show you how you would start turning it. And when you lay it out, see how you can tell that that's starting to turn. So if I started doing that too early, you go, oh my word, this is like if I lay my needle flat here, you can tell it's bunched up here, but I'm angling it to show you how it just started growing. Okay, so I'm way ahead of myself because the short rows would happen here. See that happen here? Everybody's going along straight, and then we start making short rows, and then we go up to this point. And then what you do is you basically do it in the opposite direction, and you get the rest of this corner here. So I'm going to go back into some of those instructions here. Let me rip out these stitches here. I like to get my stitches all set back up in the right direction, and so this is how I put them back on. Just get that back up on there. Actually, I'm not in the right direction, so there we go. And then now I'm back to that row. Good morning, good morning. I'm seeing people say hello. Sorry if I missed you. That's so cool, but makes you glad yours is on a loom, Stephanie. Yeah, wrap and turns are easy on the loom. You just pick that stitch up and put the wrap on and replace it. Pretty cool, huh? And anyway, let's see. Whoops, sorry, I'm hitting my phone. I'm getting a whole bunch of notifications. I'm getting like text messages and Instagram messages, and it's like covering up the screen here. And I can't turn on airplane mode because then I couldn't talk to you lovely people. So, sorry, pardon me while I have technical stuff going on. That's the lovely part about live broadcasting from a phone, right? Okay, so now you understand how bring the yarn forward. So it's towards you, slipping the next stitch purlwise, taking the yarn back, replace the stitch on the left-hand needle, bring the yarn forward again, and turn the work. So you're just doing yarn forward, bring it around, yarn forward again, and then turn. Because of all the turning, it's best to knit this blanket on short needles as it grows. See how I'm using circulars? But before I was using double-pointed needles. And I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could even use this needle and take this cable off. I'm leaving the cable on because I like how I can slide it onto the cable, and then that's like my stitch holder when I'm just throwing it in my bag. So that's the beauty of circular needles. If you haven't caught the beauty of circular needles, you need to catch on to it. So let's see, because of all the turning, okay, let's see, I did that already. You'll find that you don't need it. It makes the process smoother. Okay, so begin with the square. This is how you actually begin the pattern, okay? So using the long tail method, cast on 10 stitches and knit 9 ridges or 18 rows, okay? So you're gonna knit it until you get that many. Garter stitch is a square stitch. That is to say, one garter ridge is 1 stitch. So a 10 stitch square should consist of 10 ridges, 20 rows, but you only work 9 ridges here as the cast on edge counts as the first ridge. So that's good to note here. So you're going to be counting and looking at how your working yarn, your beginning yarn ends and everything. That is that. And then, oh, you knit everything on circulars, Chris? Yeah. Excuse me, coffee break. Okay, let's see, double corner. Double corner. Ooh, we got an airplane. You can probably hear that. Okay, so this is made up of 4 steps. Okay, and so she refers to the notes above, which is on that last page. For how to work the short row ridges. And remember, each ridge is 2 rows, okay? So ridge 1 is you knit 9, wrap and turn, and knit 9. Okay, remember though, you are slipping that first stitch, okay? So technically, these numbers are off. I'm just going to say. So if you choose to do this, you're not slipping that stitch how she had said. So anyway, technically that first stitch is slipped, but you'll have 9 on the right-hand side when you do your first wrap and turn. So the wrap and turn will be on that 10th one. Then let's see. So you're just going to, basically you're going to knit back and forth. So when I did that, I did that knit back and forth, you saw that my number got less every time. So because I started right down here, I said, okay, I'm gonna knit 3 and wrap and turn, and then knit 3 again, and remaining. Anyway, well, I knit to the end, but the anyway, so the way she's referring to it, it will end up working this way. So you knit 9, you wrap and turn, it makes it shorter. You knit 8, you wrap and turn, it makes it shorter. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It makes this total angle here. It's a 45-degree angle. And then the next time, you're going to do this step 2. So step 1 is the first part of the corner, which would be here. This would be step 1. And then step 2 is this corner. Okay? So it says notes, even if you're slipping the first stitch of every ridge as I did, knit that stitch on ridge 9 when you're only working 1 stitch. Your needle should be a 45-degree angle, which is what we were just saying here, to your knitted square and point diagonally upwards and to the right. Okay? Now, it's going to the right if you're right-handed. Of course, it's opposite if you're left-handed. Excuse me. Okay, so step 2 is the opposite. You're actually doing a little bit less on step 2. You're not starting with knit 1. You actually go ahead and, because it already has a wrap on it, excuse me, hold on. Anyway, if I started with one here, then I would actually get a wrap and turn like on top of itself twice. Like it would make a hole in the corner here. So note that it starts with knit 2 and this one ended with knit 1. So this is just slightly different right here, okay? And then so knit 2, knit 3, knit 4, knit 5, you're basically going backwards. And I think on the end here, it's a little easier, but she is, she's still leaving out the whole slip thing. So in my opinion here, this last line here is actually should be up by 1 because you're knitting the rest of that row here. You're knitting, like especially up here, if this first one slipped and I knit 8 and I wrap and turn on the 10th, when I go back, I'm actually knitting 9. So technically this number would be down 1. And so this is up 1 from this. I don't know if I said that really weird, but imagine these are down by 1 and then this remains the same. So this would be knit 8, wrap and turn, and then knit 9, if that makes sense, because this is actually one particular stitch here, okay? So anyway, I'll show you what this means on a corner. I'll probably get to this next week. So now that I thoroughly confused you, be sure to join me back next week when I actually like show you in execution how to do it. So now I'm gonna move on to the next page. Note, now you've knitted a square on top of your original square with a diagonal line marked across it. That's this line here. Actually, you can't see it. So this line right here. Do you see that line? Okay, so this is step 1, this triangle, and this is step 2, that's this triangle, and then you have this ridge at a 45-degree angle, okay? And then your needle point will go straight up like this, okay? And then you're going to, this is in the beginning, okay? Then you're going to basically do the same thing again, okay? This is exactly the same as step 1. Your needle will point now upward and to the left. So, okay, so sorry, when you finished, you were here, and then you did another step 1, and now you're gonna do another step 2 again, okay? So now it's like you've done 2 corners, okay? So remember, this is just the beginning. So we begin, step 1, step 2, step 1, and then we're gonna do step 2 to finish it out, okay? You will now have 2 knitted squares on top of your original square, and your needle will be horizontal and pointing to the left. That's the only time you need to work a double corner. From now on, all corners will be single. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. I'm going back and forth on purpose here. You can get the pattern. I've got the link in the notes. Joanne had added it, so look for her name. So let's look at this the way it had it. So you're going to cast on, work your 9 ridges, step 1, step 2, okay, this is where your needle direction will be, then do another step 1, and then you do another step 2, okay? So see how there's a double corner here, and you've got the same amount, it's like the same size here, you're making a square, right? And then you're going to work the same amount of ridges here, and we're going to start picking up and joining these, and it's going to talk about how to do this part, okay? Now, if you're wondering, where's her tail? I'll show you where my tail is. Let's go flip over, and you'll see the beginning. See that tail? So this was my cast on, and you can see this is the only area where it like really dips in, but you can see it kind of dipped down. So that's where the beginning was, and my tail ended here. So I haven't woven it in because I wanted you to see it. And then you worked all the way up, turned, 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 and now we're about to join here in the pattern here. Now that I've thoroughly flipped my blanket around, give me a moment. And guess what I did, y'all? I pulled out my stitches. So I'll have to put those back in here in a minute. But that's fun to work, right? Okay. So I'm in no danger. It's only a few stitches. It's not, I mean, it's just 10 stitches. That's the thing. It's not like 100. So, oh, Alice, you've attempted before and couldn't figure it out, so you're glad I'm demonstrating? Well, I'm glad. Hopefully this helps you. Yeah, I'm trying to pick up There we go. Okay. All right, so now I'll have the 2 knitted squares on top of my original, and I will need to be horizontal and pointing to the left. Okay, so that's the only time you work the double corner. That's the only time. Joining the ridges. So the next thing you do is work 10 ridges. I'm sorry, boy, I can't read today. The next thing to do is to work 10 joining ridges down the side of your original square. Okay, that's this end here. Okay. This is when you choose which join you want to use. The original simple join gives a raised edge on the right side, while the chain join gives a raised edge on the raised chain stitch edge. Okay, see that? See the chain join and then the simple join? Both are smooth on the wrong side. Okay, so both of them have that smooth side. The simple join looks like this. I think when my color changes, I like emphasizing the fact that it has a chain on it, so it's like really stands out, because it kind of jogs to me, and I don't like it kind of jogging, and so I like the chain join. I like the look of that, and then the back always looks nice. Okay, so the smooth side is the wrong side of the blanket. I mean, you can choose to call it right or wrong, but it just, as far as the pattern speak goes, that's what that means. It doesn't mean it's wrong as in it's a bad connotation of it's bad if you like that the best way. Does that make sense? So I've had someone go, but I like the wrong side. Is that bad? I'm like, no, it's just for pattern writing purposes for you to understand that. But technically, the way that's meant to be seen is the right side. Okay, so the chain join, slip 1 stitch knitwise and bring the yarn forward as if to purl. Now you saw me do that a while ago. You actually saw me slip the stitch and bring the yarn forward and pick it up and knit the stitch. You saw me do that. I demonstrated that. Pass the slip stitch over. Okay, so yeah, and then turn and slip the first stitch of the return row purlwise, holding the yarn in front. So I already slipped that stitch. That extra yarn forward stitch is to hide the old color when working with variegated yarn or changing yarn colors. If you're knitting your blanket in one color, you can leave that out. So it talks about how to hide that. Let's see. The first joining ridge after the double corner is joined to do the end of the first fixed ridge. So all this speak here of whether to do something or not to do something, this is an extra step. And so when you're first doing your blanket, the thing is it's like a sample. So you can start your join and work that first set of ridges, and if you like how you're joining and you like the look of it, do it after you've gotten to the 9 ridges before you do your next corner, and make your decision. If you like how the join is working, then just continue. Now, if you can't see it because the color change doesn't happen, you're not going to be able to make that decision until you've done a few more rows of a color join. Like say I worked it like this and I don't like how that looked, I would then have to frog back and go back and undo some more corners and stuff. So if you want to start a sample or start your yarn like where it color changes quickly, then you'll be able to see where the pickup stitch is. If the color change happens right here, you'll be able to tell that more quickly. Does that make any sense? So anyway, just think about it this way. It's only 10 stitches and it's just a sample. Like if you only do this, it's a really small swatch. So don't get frustrated. I know that the corners are a bit to work, but like I said, if you wanted to start with a color change starting about here, then you'll be able to tell how your color change is going to work up in the rest of your blanket before investing in all that time. Does that make sense? Okay. Next page. This is page 6. So we've actually gone through quite a bit of this pattern. There's 9 pages. If you look closely on the inside corner, you'll see several bumps along the inside ridge. These are a combination of wraps and the ends of normal ridges. And you see how there's all these, they're combinations here. Okay, so the bumps are the parts from the ridges, okay? And then the wraps are the parts that go around the edge. You know, they went like that. Okay, so this goes around. This is what you want, okay? You want the bump, not the wrap. Okay, here's a wrap, like here. So here's on my needle. Let's see if I can get this. Ooh, that's better. So here's what's on the needle here. And then this one going around here is a wrap, not a bump, okay? And then this is a bump because it's a ridge. This is a bump right here, but the outside part here is a wrap. This is a bump here because it's from the end of this ridge. So the wraps are from the corners and anyway, and then this new corner here. So this was the first corner, and then this is the second corner. So if I've thoroughly confused you, we'll move on. So, okay, continue working, joining ridges into the edge of each ridge and turn. I tend to work into the bump just in from the edge, circled in the picture. Okay, oh gosh. So she tends to work right into there. I work in between, but whatever you're doing, do it consistently, right? So she works right into there, okay? But there is no hard and fast rules about it. It's mainly about being consistent. She doesn't say be consistent. I'm telling you to be consistent. When you have worked your 10 joining ridges, you'll be back to the level with the cast on edge. Okay, see this? So once you've pulled and joined together here, you're back to this same level with the cast on edge. This is where you're gonna turn again, okay? So now you do what she calls a single corner. The single corner consists of 2 steps. These are the same as steps 1 and 4 of the double corner. So 1, it's technically 1 and 2, but I'm calling it 1 and 2, but it's 1 and 4 because see how it starts on to the next thing, okay? So you're doing the first part of the corner and the second part of the corner over here, okay? And then all the other corners after that will be the same as this first corner here, okay? So we work the step 1, and then we work along, and then it turns, and then we work along, and then it turns, and then we start picking up our stitches here. This is the only time, obviously, you're picking up the cast on edge here, okay? So then it says the cast on edge, and it's talking about that. Now work another 10 joining ridges into the cast on edge. This is the last time you'll have to count the ridges. Work the first joining ridge into the same place as the last join before the corner, or as near to it as you can get it. When you get to the next corner where you cast on, where the cast on tail of yarn is, work another single corner as before. So that's where now we're repeating that whole corner thing. So you've made your corner here, you've pulled in the cast on edge, and you've worked as the 9 because you want to make sure and have a consistent number, and then you start working your corner. So you do a step 1 to here, oops, and then you do another step here, another part of the part 2 of the corner, okay? And then you start picking up, and then that's the pattern really. That's it. So then it says the rest of the blanket. From now on, you can stop counting joining ridges, just work along the sides until you get to the corner, do a single corner, and get round it and carry on. So you do the corner, carry on, and round around. Now, if you aren't sure about corners, it's going to talk about this. As you go along, you might find it helpful to mark the point of the next corner with a stitch marker or safety pin. This is the bump between the 2 slightly larger, longer ridges. Now, I found this helpful when I was loom knitting. I don't need it as much. I don't feel like I need it as much on the needles, but you may find differently. So as you go along, you might find it helpful to mark the point of the next corner with a stitch marker or safety pin. This is the bump between the 2 slightly longer ridges. Stretching the knitting apart can help find it. Work the last joining ridge of each stitch and join the first join of the next into this corner part. Okay, so this is here. So this is where they join, and it has this ridge, and it's talking about right here, like where this corner is. Okay, so you can put a safety pin or a closing stitch marker right here. Okay, that's all that was. This is fun knitting, simple to do but strangely compulsive. So you keep going until you're bored or run out of yarn. Depending upon where you decide to stop, the finished blanket will be a square, a rectangle, or neither of the above, with a sticky out bit on one side like mine. So anyway, so you work until you get, so you can just stop here, which you probably wouldn't want to do, or you would stop right at the end. So if I was to stop here, this would be kind of an awkward blanket if I bound off here. So what I want to do is work all the way down till I get to here and then stop. So I need enough yarn. If I want to stop the blanket here, I need enough yarn to get me from here to here. Otherwise, if I ran out of yarn and I don't want to continue the blanket on, I'm going to have to rip it out and end it back here. Okay? All right. So, and it says, just for a regular shaped blanket, work the first row of the last ridge into a corner point. Let's see. Yeah, so you're working to that corner point where you had your little, your stitch marker. And then you work to that point. And then this is just talking about yarn and abbreviations and stuff. You can use any weighted yarn and needles for this pattern. Just experiment with a few rows of garter stitch until you find a knitted fabric that you like. The blanket looks good when worked in variegated yarns with a long color run, but stunning effects can be achieved with lots of different colors. They're amazing 10-stitch knitted with leftover sock yarn. You don't have to make a blanket. She says, I use this little one, which I really must get around to blocking one day, as a cloth on a small table. And that's pretty much what the size that she did here. So, and then her abbreviations here just says K is knit and W and T is wrap and turn. And then she goes back over that, and then this is Frankie Brown. So, this is her copyright, and it says, please do not use for teaching purposes without my permission. And I do have permission. And that is the entire pattern. So you can see how her abbreviations are on the very last page. I put my abbreviations on the first page. So if you are not understanding terms, go flip to the back, the last page of your pattern, and see if it's there. Any terms can be throughout a pattern. That's why I always say, read the whole pattern, or at least glance at it to find the areas that you want to navigate to before going, I don't know what she's saying. Just keep looking and you'll find it. So that's how that goes. If y'all want to see me work it, you want to, oh, Ada wants to know about joining a new color. I can join a new color here for you, although I wasn't planning on doing it right here. But let me see if I can get that for you. We get to the end here. Oh, we got a plane going in the background here. Okay, here's my color. Oh, isn't that lovely? It has a knot right in the end there. I don't have my scissors in front of me either, so I'm not gonna cut it out. That would be a waste of yarn. So, okay, so I have completely dropped all these stitches. Let's see if I can get this back on here. It's like fuzzy right there. It's like it was pulled. Okay. Ah, stop it. Okay. All right. Let me work a couple of rows here. I just want to, before I join. So I'm just gonna, since I want to reiterate what I was doing before. Okay, so we're gonna slip, and this is just the joining. This is not the corner, because the main part of the blanket, making the blanket, is oh wow, I've got a split yarn here. Let me just fix this while I'm at it. This split this stitch here. It's goofball. You know, I knew that was gonna happen too. I picked it up funny. Okay, here we go. So the main blanket doesn't have corners everywhere. It's just in the corners. So you're doing what I'm doing here for the majority of the blanket. Okay. So when we get down to the corner here, or where we're joining, we're just slipping, and then we're gonna pick up this stitch here. So we're picking up a stitch, which means we're pulling in yarn from our ball. So we're not picking up this part, we're actually putting yarn through it, okay? And then you want to work this slip the previous stitch over, okay, like that, and then it makes that chain. See how it goes? It has that chain. And so I'm flipping it around here. And depending upon the look that you want, you will do something a little different on this row. What I'm doing is I'm slipping this stitch and I'm putting my yarn in the back. So my quick way of doing it is I just hold it this way. Now, if I was knitting continental, then I wouldn't have to do that. And then I just slip this yarn to the back here and then put it through and start working. Okay, I'll show you again on the next row. So if I did that too fast, I'll do it again. So I'm just work to the end. I'm always slipping that first stitch. This is when I wish I had my DPNs with me. I don't like having the cable on there for it, or I need a shorter cable. Okay, so I've slipped that stitch, I'm working back. Oh, I'm not paying attention to where I am on the camera, I'm just knitting along. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna slip this stitch. We're gonna pull our blanket up here, put the knitting needle through the hole here, pick up a stitch right here, and then we're gonna lift this stitch that we just slipped over the new stitch. See how that worked there? Did I do that too fast? If y'all need me to do it again, let me know. I'm gonna get a little coffee. Hold on. Okay, so that's how I slipped that, and then we're going to turn it around. Okay, and then I'll do the slow version. Okay, so last time I lifted up here and slipped it back. This time I'll show you a different way to do it. So if I slip this, then I would put my yarn to the back. Okay, and then I would start working this way. So that's another way to do it. If you don't want that to look that way, you can knit them all and you don't slip that one. But like I said, be consistent. I never know when people hop on these live where they are when they hop on, like what you guys have seen. Okay, so let's add yarn. We were asked the question about adding yarn. Okay, so I'm not sure. I've got a whole bunch of yarn of this hanging on. I don't really need to change, but I'm gonna change anyway. Okay, so I've got my old yarn. If I cut that off, I'd just leave a nice little tail, and then I'm gonna have this tail here like that. Okay, and then I'm going to slip this stitch here. All right, and then I'm going to put my needle through as if to knit, and I'm going to pick up this, I'm gonna let this hang, and let's see, actually I'm gonna knit, yeah, okay, let this hang, and then go ahead and grab my working yarn and wrap around here like that. I'm going to hold these together and then start working. So now I've got my new stitch made with the new yarn. So I'm just going to have that, leave that end stitch there. Now I can also slip it and do that too, but it's not worked that way. So I could work it on the last row, the turning peg, but that's not really how I want to do it. So let me just do that again. I'll show you. So I've just slipped that stitch here, and I could even change it mid-row. Like say you're just going to add mid-row, because you're like, well, I don't care. It color changes on itself, so I could do it really anywhere. So I can knit along and say I want to knit at the pickup, you know, or near it. So just coming along here. I'm going to do it one before the pickup, okay? So just going to lay my strand back in here with this one, okay? And then stick my needle through, and we're just going to grab the new yarn and wrap it around and pull it on through, okay? And then I'm going to slip my stitch. I'm going to come around, and I'm going to pick up, and I'm going to pick up with my new working yarn and pull it on through and work that over. And so then I've joined with that, and so the next time I join again, this orange will be on top of this other orange. Does that make sense? And so this next row, this little orange here is going to be really close to this edge, and it's going to hide. And then when I work back, everything here is going to be orange. So you can see my tail's here, and this tail are together. So these are going to be together, and then you would just work this in with your needle later on. I think this method, I prefer joining that way because I can, and without tying a knot, because I don't have a hard knot in my work, and it's much more seamless looking. And yeah, you've got some tails to weave in, but really you can make a game of it and see how fast you can do it, or you can weave around these and the stitches and stuff and kind of make your own little mantra. But I actually think that kind of joining is a nicer join than doing a Russian join or doing anything that has a knot involved in it. So anyway, okay, so I hope that helps you guys, and I would just continue working until I got to here. But let's say I want to stop and I don't have enough of this yarn, and I want to start one of these. You can the problem with these Karen cakes is the cool part and the bad part is they don't all line up the same way. So if you want to work out your color patterning and say, okay, well, I'm on green and the next one should be blue because it changes to here. Well, green and blue meeting up is like right in the middle of this. So you're either going to have to deal with the fact that you've got a whole mess of yarn that you haven't used and then work it in later, or just go ahead and say, you know, embrace it and just start working from the center or from the outside. Like in this case, I could work from the outside here because this is green, right? So it'll be green and then yellow and then blue. So actually it would do green and then yellow and then blue, which is not the sequence. So we can see that this sequence is totally different than this sequence. Does that make sense? I don't know why, but it is. So it's just, it just depends. So if you want to pull from the outside in or whatever, but it doesn't really matter on something like this because it's supposed to color change like that. So if I was to continue this blanket, I would choose this ball here instead of say this ball, because the outside, so the inside, first of all, this one hides a lot. So if I reach down on the side here, look, orange is the middle. So orange is the middle of this one, but it looked like red was, right? And then the outside of here is green. So technically, I think that's green. Yeah, it barely changes. So I could grab from the outside of this one, or I could grab from the outside of this one. But if I grab from the inside of this one, well, we already know it's orange. So, or no, this one's orange. This one's red. There's red inside here. Look at that. So this is red. This one's orange. So I would pull from the outside of these if I wanted to continue in and get the most out of the new ball. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions on that? Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to go back and see how far I can get this green to ride out for me. Okay, so I don't need that one. That makes sense? Oh, thank you, Ellie. I'm glad. Has anybody else attempted the 10 stitch? And have you any problem spots, or have you enjoyed it, or anything I need to clarify? If you have some tips to share with everyone, please feel free to do it. I mean, I'm always up to learning some new things too, new ways to do stuff myself. I will say that I have caught myself a few times. Here's a problem area that could happen. Somehow I've gotten an extra yarn over in here somehow, and then I'll come back and I'll find a, oh, you're too scared to start, Brooke? Okay, well, next week I'll start one from the beginning and you'll see it. But I've gotten it to where I've had like an extra line here, and what had happened was I had somehow picked up this, like it was like this, and then like it had gotten wrapped around, and it was like extra, and so I had to frog back and fix that. And so it was hung up because I had continued, I missed it, and then had gone on and done another row, and I came back and went, oh, but then I had to frog back. So I'm just letting you know, if once you do this, if you just go, oh, okay, I got a chain, I don't have anything weird, then continue. I'm sorry, I had an alarm hit. I don't know if y'all heard the alarm or you just saw it freeze. Oh, Alice said excited to watch when I make 2 turns. Oh yeah. And see, I only have this much left, and I'm just tempted to, I just want to finish it. I don't know if y'all are interested in just watching me finish it here, but I could, since I need to just sit and work and do it, if y'all want to sit and watch. I'm off camera, aren't I? And I'm not sure I'm ever going to be like the fastest knitter. I know if I knit continental, I will speed up, and I do knit continental. I guess I could do that on here, especially because the way I'm having to do this. But I was diagnosed with carpal tunnel years ago. I think I got it from when I worked for MJ Designs. MJ Designs, Michael's used to be Michael's MJ Designs, and then I think it's the 2 brothers split. Anyway, in college, I worked at MJ Designs making bows in the floral department, and that's where I developed carpal tunnel, because I was constantly like holding it in my left and shaping it with my right. And so I actually developed it more on my left hand, which is good because I'm right-handed, but I ended up getting it in the right as well. And so I don't know that I'll ever be a super fast knitter just because of that. But anyway, here, let's see. I'll do continental for this one. So it is a little faster. Some people, I watch them knit and they're like super fast. You know, I'm just not that way. I feel like when I go super fast, I feel like in my brain, I'm going, okay, go faster, go faster, go faster. It's not like a natural thing for me. And then when I turn, I'm like, oh, when I do continental, like, where am I? So it's just, it's such a habit to be on my right. It's like I can't get past it. Or at least on a small thing where I'm turning a lot, you know. You wish you knew how to start this, Norma? Well, I was planning on actually doing the teaching of starting it next week, like a full-on thing. So I don't really have time to sit and do it today. I was just going to do that from the beginning last week. So I wanted to have, today is more of a, I want you to see some of the mechanics of this and go through the whole pattern. So if you just joined me earlier in the video, you'll be able to check it after on the replay, but you'll be able to see me talking through the pattern first, which you might find helpful when reading the pattern again. I think it's good to be able to pick that, like, know how to read the pattern so that you can have that later, print that out at home, have it in your knitting bag, keep it with your stuff filed away. So when you want to pick it up again, when you pick it up and read it, you'll know, you'll be familiar with that instead of going, well, I saw this video once, you know. I don't know how long Facebook or YouTube will be around, but if you get the pattern and you have it printed off for yourself, you know, if you know how to look at a pattern, because I get a lot of people who come and they like are afraid to read patterns or not know how to, and so my goal is to get people reading patterns. I still want, I mean, yeah, I want you to be around. I love it, but I also want that fear to go away, because when you have that fear, you're immobilized. You're not getting to do all that, right? Your goal, Ellie, in January is to sit down and get needle knitting better. That's a really good goal. There's also a technique called flicking. I don't know what to do with all that. This is like, here. Very Pink Knit, Stacey Perry, she teaches how to flick. And so it's a version of throwing. And it's where she tilts her needle and she doesn't actually let go of the needle. She just, it's a pivot point. Hey, Mickey. Let's see you come on. So what her flicking is, if I know I'm probably not holding it right, but when she does flicks, she does this, but I don't know, it's like, I don't know if I've got big hands and I know I could probably do it, but just the mechanics of do it is different. So she puts it in and then she tilts and then flicks and puts it in. So she tilts, like pivots it and then does it, but I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's like one of those things that I will have to force myself to not do my normal, because I know that I'm still throwing, but I'm still leaving my thumb basically on here. So I might be sort of semi-flicking. Sounds so funny. Oh no, I pulled my stitch. Okay, hold on. I want to fix it. Have you ever pulled your stitch? What you can do is pull on the yarn here and the other stitches and get it back into place. And now you can't tell, but I just pulled that out about a half an inch while ago. I don't know if y'all saw that, but We just fixed that right there on the camera. Give me hearts if you like that. Ah, there they come. I see them coming through. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for sticking with me today. Just working on my project. You'll hear my dryer beeping in the background. It makes this little noise when it's done. It makes a little song. I'm like, yes, I'm getting housework done while I do this too. Knitting while you work. Here we go. Do we have any bets? Place your bets. How long this will last? You know, if I was actually measuring and I had done all the gauge swatching and stuff, I would be like, Kristen, you should be able to get this many more ridges out of here, because if I was doing the math like I tell you guys to do, then I would have figured out how much I have left, and then I'll approximately finish or not. But if I don't, I think what I'm going to do is I'll stop the blanket short. Whoops. I won't stop the blanket short. I will actually grab yarn from the outside of one of these balls like I was talking about earlier. You know. All right, hang on, a coffee break. That's some good coffee. That's some community coffee right there. Anybody like community coffee? That is what I'm drinking today. Yeah, I don't always do swatches. I just laid right into it. Well, I've done the blanket before, and I knew that this needle was appropriate for this yarn because I've done that before. So this particular, because I knew how it behaved already, I didn't do the swatch. And I didn't need to measure it because there's not really, in this particular pattern, it's not necessary. However, if I'm going to put on a wearable, I want to talk about the significance of swatching. If I'm going to make a sweater and I don't swatch it, okay, and I don't measure my gauge and I don't predict it and I don't add in or take out stitches according to, because I've changed my needle size up or down, or my yarn up or down, or my stitch tension is off, if I don't make a change, that sweater that I want to knit for myself might fit a toddler. Or my toddler sweater might fit me. So that is the importance of swatching and gauging and stuff. Now, usually it's more of a size of, like, say you're a medium and you work with a slightly thinner yarn, and your stitches are smaller, and you're tighter, whatever, it could be a size down, or it could be a size up. Okay, maybe your stitches, maybe you're using a bulkier yarn, same needles, but the bulkier yarn, it could grow up a half size, or even a full size. So depending upon if that's supposed to be fitted or not, that can make a big difference. But even if it's not supposed to be a fitted type of item, it could still be ginormous. Or you could make it to where your sleeves are, say they're supposed to be a full sleeve, but because you cut a corner and didn't measure or whatever, then it became like this really elongated or extra big sleeve. Maybe the body worked, or the yoke of the shirt, the sweater worked, but the, you know, maybe one area is just completely out of whack. Because I'm at the tail end, that's like, it's not, I don't have the weight of like having a ball behind me or to the side. So I have this like hairball next to me. But there's only 10 stitches, you know, so it like holds on to it. I mean, like I get pretty far along here. For the blanket, what I'm making, Mickey's asking, what is the front? This is the front. Well, this is what's called the right side in the pattern. So it has all these ridges. But, I mean, if you like this side is the front, which doesn't have the ridges, which is equally beautiful. I really enjoy the back of it. And it's nice and smooth. There are no ridges. You can tell just by me tilting it to the side here. That could be the front for you if you like that. So if you want to like lay it on your couch or whatever, your sofa, whatever you call it, where you live, you know, up or down, then that's completely up to you. And like I said, in the pattern, there are different things. Actually, Mickey, I think you joined me a little late. I went through that in the pattern, and then there are ways to make it to where the ridges are not as prominent as what I'm showing here. They're not bumping up like that. You can make it to where it's closer to where the back side is. It still looks slightly different in the front. But that's the cool part about this pattern. So it's just different ways to join. And you can use this technique on other things. And Frankie has several patterns that use this technique. And once you've done the 10 stitch, this is your gateway pattern drug here to making Frankie's patterns. And then she has a 10 stitch twist, which is the next thing I want to do. And that's the reason why I want to cut this one short, is because I want to use the next ball of yarn and do the 10 stitch twist and show you that. It starts in a circle and then it goes around and makes a swirl, which would be really cool. So, and I think it'd be kind of cool to do that, and then, whoops, put maybe elastic around the edges and then make it go over like an old school stool, you know, like a little footstool, or, you know, your chair or something. Wouldn't that be nice? I'm not sure I've seen anybody do that. That would be really fun. If you did that, please post it on the Good Knit Kisses page. In fact, I would love to talk to you guys. And since if you're still joining me, then you rock, first of all. Yay. Thank you for still watching and tuning in. I would love to show off your projects that you're most proud of, or even if they're works in progress. We have Raylyn, who's put her beginning sweater, her first sweater she's working on. She's got the yoke of the sweater that she started where the top is, where the collar is and everything. She's posted that. I would love to do that. If you would post on Instagram and tag me, of course, I would love to see it. If you post on my Good Knit Kisses page, not the club, but the page, I'd love to be able to share it with everyone. So if you want to brag about your work, go ahead. This is the place to brag, right? Because we all understand, right? And we get inspired by what each other are doing too. So it's always cool. So I'm only one person, but I would love to build a better Good Knit Kisses community. And there are things that I can't talk about just yet. I'm still working on those. But one of the things is I need to have better, I'm just going to be outright with you, social media wise, better engagement, more people commenting and sharing my things. But I want to do it because you are having fun and you're enjoying it. I don't ever want to do it for the business side of it. However, me doing this will expand what I can provide to you. And I'm really excited about it. I'm itching to tell you, but I can't just yet. So there's some things coming down the pipe for Good Knit Kisses, and I'm really, really excited about it. I can't wait to be able to share and let you know, but it will also be more like patterns that I'll be able to just outright share and show to you without having to worry about the copyright, because it'll be already approved, whatever I do. So that's awesome, right? All right, I gotta stop and fix this. All right, raise your hand on here. Give me a love if you actually enjoy untangling your yarn sometimes. Like if you have a ball of a friend's, maybe you actually like to untangle your friend's ball. Like, have you ever been in a knitting circle and someone has a problem? You'd be like, oh, you know what? Let me help you. Are you that friend? Hit the love button if you were that friend. If you don't, if you hate it, if you can't stand it, hit the like button. Let's see how many people. And if you think it's hilarious that I actually like it sometimes, then just hit the laughing thing, because that's hilarious. Oh, we got a bunch of loves. You help your friend. Are you a good neighbor? Are you a good knitty neighbor? I actually do that when we have our knitting group. I tend to do that. I don't know how many times I've had people at my group and they're like, I have a problem. I'm like, oh, here, let me come over and fix it for you. I don't know why. And I love to get my loom pick. By the way, if you're a needle knitter and you don't know how to loom, get a loom pick just to help pick out your the yarn from being in a knot. I'm gonna say, oh my goodness, like seriously. You love untangling, Mark? Oh, Mark, you rock. You rock. You know you're gonna get some knitters gonna say, can I send my stuff to you, Mark? You know, that could be a total business. Oh my gosh. What if that was a nitty business? We'll untangle your yarn and no, seriously, Mark, you should start a business for untangling yarn. Wouldn't that be amazing? Like we're the yarn untanglers, or like offer services for winding hanks into cakes, and maybe like adjoining all the ends for people. You'd have to come up with like a really good way to do it. Like maybe they put them on Lazy Kates or something. There's a real untangling group on Ravelry. Shut the front door. Are you serious? Really, Alice? Okay, you have to give us the link. Please put the link in there. Are you a part of it? That is funny. I didn't really think that was a thing. Y'all, I'm getting a low battery. Like it's actually telling me that I have less than 20%. So I'm actually gonna have to cut this broadcast short. Sometimes when I broadcast, oh, and I'm getting really close to the end, look. But sometimes when I broadcast, I'm actually plugged into a power source and I can't find my mobile one. Like I'm gonna have to either buy a new one or turn the house upside down finding it. So little frustrated because that was an investment piece. Yeah, no, Alice says. I'm seriously towards the end. Like, shut up. Is this gonna work? You know what? Who betted that I would not have enough? Because I'm thinking we're getting really close to the wire and I might have enough. I might actually have enough to come to the end. And then if it's like the notorious, I have nothing to bind off, y'all are gonna see my reaction. Oh my gosh, I'm like, how fast can I knit to keep the power going? And the problem is I can't see how much power that I have left because it won't show me in this screen. And so I'm like, my tension's gonna be like super tight here. I'm about to get messy. I'm sure I'm gonna start messing up really bad. It's like live TV when they get when network cuts them off. Oh my gosh. It's like if American Idol, I haven't watched that in years, but it's like if American Idol was like, and the winner is, oh my gosh, we've taken a long time, the judges talked too long, and the winner is and then they like roll the credits like at lightning speed, you know. Will I pick up next time? Oh my gosh, where will I pick up? I will, I'll start one. So I have these 2 balls behind me, and what I intended to do is next week I was going to start with this ball next week and show you the 10 stitch with that one, like if I was starting from the very beginning. So you'll see the first beginning spot, the cast on, the 9 ridges, the double corners, and I'll definitely have to plug into a power source because I want to make sure that I don't run out. Facebook will let me, man, they'll let me broadcast for hours. As long as I have a Wi-Fi, I'm good to go. Oh my gosh, I think I may have enough. Y'all keep going, Kristen. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Stop knitting, film ending later so you can see. No, I want to go. I want to keep going. No. Y'all, it's that whole one more row thing. I'm at the end. This is the addicted side of a knitter. Like, I have to finish. I have to finish. Husband's calling me to bed, and I'm like, Yeah, one more row, hon. One more row. Oh my gosh. I think I'm gonna make it. Am I gonna make it? I can't stop. I got this feeling down in my bones. It goes electric, baby, when you turn it on. Out through my city and through my heart, or whatever the words. Da na 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 na. Little Justin Timberlake. I got that sunshine in my pocket. I got that whatever the words are. Stop. Ooh. Da, 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 da. I need the lyrics next to me. And everything goes. Just imagine, just imagine, just imagine. Da, 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 da. Just knit, 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 knit. All the things I should do, like laundry. So there's knit, babe. Can't stop the knitting. Can't stop the knitting. Ooh, something magical. I got to the corner, baby. Yes, I did. Yes, sir. Oh, am I off camera? Oh my gosh, I'm flying. She's flying. She's flying. Dun, 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 dun. Yes. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Yes. Okay. Binding off. I don't care if I'm even a little short here. Like, I'm just gonna bind off. How awesome is that? All right. Knit. Knit. Bind off. Knit. Bind in and off. I'm trying not to be, I gotta, you know what, Kristen, calm down. Calm down. Ease your tension so that your bind off isn't too tight. Calm down. I know you're excited, but you're gonna have to calm down. This is what you need to do in your knitting. You're so excited. Why was my bind off so tight? It's because you were stinking excited to be finished. So just calm down. You can do this. You got it. Enjoy it. Enjoy finishing the project. Okay, it's like when you get that dessert that you've been waiting for, you know, like don't gobble down the last few bites. Like savor the last few bites. Okay. Oh my gosh. Seriously, y'all. Oh my gosh. Okay. Stop it. Okay, this is gonna, and then I'll just weave this in, and then that would be it. Look at that, y'all. Look. Oh my gosh, y'all. Seriously, I finished. I have like 9 inches left. Like, yay! Look, isn't that awesome? So here's my middle. Okay, so here's the middle, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically, here's the middle ridge. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. Let's go this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. Let's turn it. We got, if that's the middle, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So technically, the middle is kind of about right here, which is as it should be. So that's pretty good. Kristen rocks. Oh my gosh. So scary. Well, I mean, I was prepared to grab this one and I was going to get the rest of this. And so if I had to bind off with like using extra yarn, I would have frogged back a few rows just to make sure it was like nice and secure. And then I would have done it. But yeah, I'm not going to lie. That was like nail biting. So is anybody else biting their nails? Anyway, I want to go on because I'm having so much fun with you guys and I would love to go on and do the 10 stitch twist, but I'm going to have to save it since my battery is going away. So y'all send me loves and hearts. If you want to share this, please feel free to share it. Remember, share your work on the Good Knit Kisses page, not the club. You can share in the club, but I would love for you to do that and share away, and I will share with the world. And anyway, love you all. Have a great day. Tomorrow is our crochet day, and I hope you enjoy your knitty day. Have a wonderful one. So happy knitting and crochet. Bye, everyone.